If you've ever looked into the mirror and thought to yourself, how did I end up living a life that doesn't look like me? Then this episode is for you. Because you didn't lose yourself overnight. You lost yourself trying to live up to the expectations of other people, like your family, your friends, your coworkers, and society's expectation and timeline. And today, we're not here to start blaming your past. We're here to take your life back, and we're going to do that one choice at a time. I'm Fortune, and for the longest time ever, I didn't realize that I was living my life according to other people's expectations of me and seeking other people's approval. I didn't feel like I was lost because I actually failed, but I felt like I was lost because I was shrinking myself and making the real version of myself smaller in order to fit other people's expectations. On the outside, it looked like I had it all figured out, but in the inside, it felt like a stranger in my own life. If you know what that feels like, you are not broken. You are just long overdue for a comeback, and today, that's exactly what we're going to help you with. Losing yourself doesn't start when you fail at something. It starts when you live life surviving the expectations of other people. The family that told you what success looks like for you, the friends that only understood you when you lived your old life, and the society timeline that defines and dictates what you should do and when you should be something in life. Somewhere along those lines, it felt safer to shrink and to fit in and to minimize yourself. But you're not here to just survive life. You're here to live life on your terms. And the longer you keep performing for everybody else, the more that version of yourself that's inside of you is going to keep drifting away from you. Today, we're going to start building back that confidence and help you to actually take control and go after the things that you want to go after. The first thing is you have to admit that you're performing and not actually living. You can't come back to yourself if you're still trying to be what everyone else expects. Living life in survival mode is not the formula for long-term sustainability, and it's not true living. Living every single day, hoping just to get through the day in order to do that same thing all over again the next day is not going to help you bring out that version of yourself that you know that is in there and is waiting to be brought out. In order to truly start to understand what's going on in your life and to start to move towards something else, you have to be willing to name what that thing is. You have to be willing to name that performance and realize that you are performing every single day as opposed to living, because there is something inside of you, there is somebody inside of you that wants to come out and express yourself in a certain way and live a certain way and do a certain thing and accomplish certain things, but you're tampering that down because of the expectations around you. So you have to first acknowledge that you're not living, you're surviving, and you're performing every single day. Living for the approval of other people is extremely addictive. It's something that feels really good when you do something that other people want to acknowledge, that other people love, and they give you praise and adoration for that. It feels absolutely amazing, and there's a good and a bad to that. The good side of it is when you do things that truly are in alignment with what you want to do and are authentic to what you're trying to do, it aligns with what other people as well want for you, and that includes your family, your friends, your coworkers, everything. Then getting praise and approval from that feels good, and it's authentic, and it's a good thing to have. But there's a not so good version of that where you're living the life and expectations of other people and tailoring your life to what your family, what your friends, or what your coworkers want you to do, and you're bottling down your true self and not living the way that you truly want to live, or expressing your skills or expressing your emotions the way you want to express them. That can be a very negative thing, and ultimately in the long run, that can lead to not being very happy. There's a method that I learned from a Shaolin monk, and his name is Shi Yi, and he is the headmaster of Shaolin Temple Europe, and it's a Buddhist philosophy. And he was asked a question on how to deal with emotions, how to deal with self-reflection, and he introduced to me the RAIN method, RAIN. The R stands for recognize, the A stands for acknowledge, the I stands for investigate, and the N stands for not identifying. When you're going through a process of self-reflection and truly trying to understand what you feel deep down inside and what exactly is happening within yourself, you first need to recognize that something inside of yourself is not in balance. Something inside of yourself feels different. How you felt this morning versus how you feel in the afternoon and at night has changed, and you feel different. Something inside of you has changed. So you need to recognize that something is different. Then once you recognize that there is a difference, you need to acknowledge that. You need to acknowledge and accept it and say, it is this way, you feel this way, and that is true. Once you've acknowledged and accepted, you need to investigate. Investigate how you're living. Investigate how you're feeling inside of yourself. And put your detective hat on and really ask yourself questions. I was feeling this way this morning. Now I feel this way. In the afternoon, I was feeling this way yesterday. Now I feel this way. What happened? What has changed? Who have you talked to? And what has triggered those emotions inside of yourself for you to not feel like you're in balance? Then the N is not identifying. It is realizing that those emotions and how you feel about who you are currently and how you're living your life is one thing versus the core version of you is another thing. You have the ability to change that. So you can't identify with that emotion. Like if you feel fear, you are not fear. Fear is a symptom of something. Fear is an emotion, but you yourself are just that person. And when you understand and not identify with that emotion, then you're able to objectively look at yourself and say, I can feel a different way and I can live my life differently. This RAIN method is something that I use to self-reflect and to really think about how I'm living my life. And if I am living a life of performance, then I use the RAIN method to really figure out why am I performing and what's causing me to have to perform and not to bring out the authentic version of myself. So you can use this RAIN method to now begin your journey of self-mastery and to now begin that path of discovering your true version of yourself. If this message is hitting home and you are ready to live outside of the expectations of other people, then subscribe to this channel. Every week I am sharing tools and methods to rebuild your confidence, start trusting your choices, and to take back your life. You don't have to do this alone, so let's do it together. Let's get back into it. The next thing is to identify whose timeline you've been following. You can't feel like yourself when you're chasing a life you didn't design. This one is a little interesting because now it forces you to have to go a little bit deeper than probably what you're used to or what you're comfortable with and what you want to do, because you now have to identify who you've been following in life. And most of the time, the lives that we live is because we're trying to please the people that are closest to us. That's going to include your family, that's going to include your friends, and even your close friends. So it's very tough to now look at those around you and to truly understand, are you living for them or are you living authentically for the life that you want? It's tough. It's tough because on one hand, you truly do want to live for the people that are close to you. And it's a good thing when your interests and their interests align. On the other hand, when their interests and your interests don't align, it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem that leads to a lot of unsatisfaction, a lot of uneasiness, and a lot of anxiety and just feeling stuck because you're trying to live one way when the true nature, your true version of yourself wants to go the other way. So this is also where it's beneficial to use that RAIN method to be able to do self-reflection and understand who you're trying to live for. There's a whole nother aspect in addition to that, and that is society's expectations of you, society's pressure for you. There's an expectation of what kind of job you should have in your life based off of your surroundings, based off of your circle, and the things that you are good at or the things that you learned at school. There's an expectation of where you need to be at certain points in life, where you need to be at 25 years old, where you need to be at 30, at 35, at 40 years old. Society has certain expectations, and those that don't fit that expectation are typically looked at as something different, something weird, something abnormal, or there's something wrong with you, when that is not true in most cases. Society has an expectation of the type of house you should have, when you should have a house. There's an expectation of relationships, when you should be in relationships, being married, having children. All of these are expectations, and all of them are not necessarily bad things. And I would argue that a lot of these things are good things, and most of these things, if not all, are good things and things that you should strive for and things that you should want and people do want, and it enriches their lives and there's fulfillment in a lot of these things. But what becomes a negative is when you're trying to model your life to that expectation, not because you want that specific job or you want that specific relationship or you want that specific house, but you think that by having that thing, society is now going to accept you and bring you into its fold and say you're one of them now. That is where things become very murky and a bit dangerous for you, because now you're trying to live according to something that you yourself may not even want. When you find yourself in these situations where these expectations are starting to be applied to your life, because you're going to feel that pressure. Depending on where you are in life and which phase you are in life, there's different sets of pressures that society puts upon you. But everybody who's listening to this knows that society is going to squeeze you in many different directions. No matter where you are in life, there are expectations and there's comparison that happens between you and what everyone else is doing. And if you don't fit that mold, then you're considered an outcast. One thing that I like to ask myself when I find myself in those situations is, whose finish line am I running towards? When I'm in a situation where I feel pressure or I feel that there's an expectation that society wants of me, I ask myself, whose finish line am I running towards in this moment? Am I going towards something that I want, or am I going towards something that I think other people want from me? And that usually helps start that conversation of, is this truly where I should be going? So use that question. Use that question to start asking yourself and get in the habit of asking yourself that question, whose finish line am I running towards? And you'll start to see yourself thinking differently and looking at some of these societal pressures very differently. The next one is, you have to accept that you will be misunderstood and you have to still choose you. Coming back to yourself means letting go of needing everyone to approve your comeback. One very interesting thing in life that happens when you start to grow and you start to think differently than you used to, and you start to think differently from your friends and your family, very interesting thing happens. People will start to project the old version of you onto you. They will now see you and they're going to start asking interesting questions like, you've changed, what's going on? You used to do this, but now you do this. Remember when you used to say this? Remember when this situation happened and you used to react like this? Remember when you used to be this type of person? Like, all these type of questions and statements start to come up because they're projecting that old version of you onto you, because now you're becoming somebody different. And there's kind of two ways that this can go or this can come to you. And both ways are very interesting, because one is a very positive way. And it's when you start to grow, when you start to change, when you start to make positive improvements in your life, and you start to build and becoming a different version of yourself, there's people close to you that will give you positive feedback. There's friends and family that will say, you're changing, you're becoming a better version of yourself, or you're becoming this type of person, this type of man, this type of son, this type of husband, this type of person in your relationship. And they will say it's a good thing, keep doing more of that, and they will support you 100%. Those people exist, and that is a good thing, and you need to look for that in your life. And if you find it, cherish those people. Then there is another version of that where you start to change, and all of a sudden you are reminding your friends and family of how different they are, because you're trying to become something else. And you start to remind them of their insecurities and the things that they secretly wish that they could change about themselves, or you're doing things that they wish that they could do, or they're just envious of you. And all of a sudden you start to get those comments that, oh, you've changed. Oh, you think you're this now. And comments like, oh, you used to do this. Remember when you were like this? Things that are trying to pull you back to that old version of yourself. So you have to understand that you have to let them. You have to let them think those things, and you need to now be confident in where you're trying to go, who you're trying to become, and really be confident in what you're trying to build, and continue to let you do you and let them be them. Also have understanding and empathy for them, and realize that you're not better than them. That is not the mentality that you need to go into this with. It's just that you're finding something different to do with your life, and you want to be something different. They may not see that, and you understand that you used to be there too, and there's insecurity with that. So anytime you see someone who's doing better than you and you feel stuck and you're not doing better than you, then that's going to bring up certain emotions. So just understanding that and having empathy for that allows you to let them misunderstand you and to let you keep going. The next one is to start choosing for the person you're becoming, not who they remember. The life you're building isn't for who you were before. It's for who you are becoming. Your choices, your habits, and the things that you do every day from today onwards need to be about your future self, not your past version of yourself. You need to be loyal to the person that you want to become. You don't need to be loyal to your past. You need to understand your past and acknowledge and accept your past, but the person you're becoming is the goal. It's the thing that you want. So all your energy, all your habits, and all your mental capacity needs to go to that future version of yourself. That means you need to stop explaining your life to other people that are not living your life. You need to stop explaining your decisions. People that aren't going to understand are not going to understand now when you're trying to start something new and grow. They're not going to understand once you accomplish that thing and that thing starts to even work. Most of the time, they're not going to understand anyway. So you're spending all this bandwidth and all this time trying to justify because you don't yet feel confident in your own decision. So you're looking for other people to embolden that choice, for other people to agree with you. That way you feel like it's the right choice. But ultimately, you're not going to get that most of the time. Now, there are people that are going to give you that. There are friends and family that will give you that. There are mentors and coaches in life that will give you that. And those are the people that you need to listen to, because those people are going to help you invest in that future version of yourself that you need to stay focused on. Your next chapter deserves your loyalty. Invest into your next chapter. Invest people that are going to invest into your next chapter. And remember that people that will help you get to that next step are the people that you need to cherish, and that you yourself need to trust yourself and understand that you have it inside of yourself to be able to take on new challenges. You're not starting over essentially. And what I mean by that is the core foundations of who you are. It's already built over time. You are where you are today because you've gone through some adversity. You've gone through some failures. You've gone through tough times, and you've built resilience. You just need to remember that version of you, that version of yourself that's a fighter, that version of yourself that is positive, and that version of yourself that is ambitious. You need to just remember that version and lean on it and let that carry you through. Have the courage, the confidence, and relentless optimism. That is a very strong combination when you have the courage to start something new, the confidence to take the next step, and the relentless optimism to keep moving forward no matter what anybody says and no matter what other people try to do and pull you back into. You still remain steady and strong. You're not broken and you're not lost beyond repair. You're standing at the starting line of something that most people don't even have the courage to do. And that is coming back to your core self. You don't need to live this world in survival. You owe yourself to live a life where you can actually thrive and go after the things that you want to. If you are ready to stop performing for everyone's approval and you are ready to build a life that actually feels like yours, it doesn't have to stop here. In this next episode, we're going to break down the real truth about confidence and why it's not something that you should earn. So check out this episode right here and let's build your life back.